Hello and welcome to our daily news program broadcast to you live here on Canal Algérie. Coming up next. President Abdelmajid Tebboune welcomes his Iranian counterpart Ibrahim Raisi on a visit to Algeria. The details are coming up shortly. Several agreements and memoranda of understanding signed between Algeria and Iran, and both presidents found common ground on the Palestinian issue. More details will be provided later. The head of state holds a tripartite meeting with his Tunisian and Libyan counterparts to review the outcomes of the 7th summit of the GECF and the situation in the Maghreb region. The Algiers Declaration adopted yesterday emphasizes the responsible exploitation and consumption of gas. Meanwhile, security mechanisms for gas installations were also discussed. Upon invitation from the Chief of Staff of the Qatari Armed Forces, the Army General Said Chingriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, starts an official visit to Qatar to partake in the 8th edition of DMAX 2024. Welcome again. We start off our today's edition with the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, who received today the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, now on an official visit to Algeria after participating in the 7th Summit of Heads of State and Government of Gas Exporting Countries Forum. The head of state reserved an official welcome to his Iranian counterpart at the presidency of the Republic. After listening to the national anthems of both countries and the flag salute, the two heads of state reviewed detachments of the Republican Guard, which rendered them the honors. The two presidents then posed for a souvenir photo in front of the national and international press. The President of the Republic greeted the members of the delegation accompanying the Iranian President, who also greeted the ministers and officials, welcoming him at their head, the Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Minister, the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, as well as members of the government. And after the welcoming ceremony, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, had face-to-face discussions with his Iranian counterpart, Ibrahim Raisi. The two heads of state then co-presided expanded discussions with the delegations of both countries. The head of state and the president of Iran presided the signing ceremony of several cooperation agreements and memoranda of understanding between the two countries in various sectors.
مذكرة تفاهم بين وزارة اقتصاد المعرفة والمؤسسات الناشئة والمؤسسات المصغرة للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية ونيابة رئاسة الجمهورية للعلوم والتكنولوجيا واقتصاد المعرفة للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية حول التعاون في مجالي اقتصاد المعرفة والابتكار. الموقعون عن الجانب الجزائري السيد ياسين المهدي وليد وزير اقتصاد المعرفة والمؤسسات الناشئة والمؤسسات المصغرة، عن الجانب الإيراني السيد روح الله دهقاني فيروز آبادي نائب رئيس الجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية المكلف بالشؤون العلمية والتكنولوجيا واقتصاد المعرفة. مذكرة تفاهم بين وزارة السياحة والصناعة التقليدية للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية ووزارة التراث الثقافي والسياحة والصناعات التقليدية للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية حول التعاون في المجال السياحي. الموقعون عن الجانب الجزائري السيد مختار ديدوش وزير السياحة والصناعة التقليدية، عن الجانب الإيراني السيد علي أكبر محرابيان وزير الطاقة. مذكرة تفاهم بين وزارة الاتصال للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية ووزارة الثقافة والإرشاد الإسلامي للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية حول التعاون في مجال الإعلام. الموقعون عن الجانب الجزائري السيد محمد العقاب وزير الاتصال، عن الجانب الإيراني السيد حسين أمير عبد اللهيان وزير الشؤون الخارجية. مخطط عمل بين وزارة الشباب والرياضة للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية ووزارة الرياضة والشباب للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية حول التعاون في مجال الرياضة لسنة 2024-2025. الموقعون عن الجانب الجزائري السيد عبد الرحمن حماد وزير الشباب والرياضة، عن الجانب الإيراني السيد حسين أمير عبد اللهيان وزير الشؤون الخارجية. مذكرة تفاهم بين وزارة الطاقة والمناجم للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية ووزارة النفط للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية حول التعاون في مجال النفط والغاز. الموقعون عن الجانب الجزائري السيد محمد عرقاب وزير الطاقة والمناجم، عن الجانب الإيراني السيد جافاد اوجي وزير النفط.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his Iranian counterpart hailed during a joint press statement the deeply rooted relations between the two countries and ways and means to further boost them. They also tackled the latest developments in the Sahel, Western Sahara, and Palestine, stressing the importance to continue efforts to maintain peace and security in the region. Rania al-Bahri with the details.
اليوم يعد خطوة هامة في هذا الاتجاه، وقد تطرقنا فيه
During a joint statement to the press with his Iranian counterpart, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, recalled the depth of Algerian-Iranian relations, reaffirming his commitment to raise them to the height of the political will of the leaders of the two brotherly countries. The President of the Republic praised the positions of the Iranian leadership, which supports the Palestinian people and rejects Zionist aggression in the face of the shameful silence of certain countries. He also indicated that he had reviewed with President Ibrahim Raisi the situation in the Sahel region and the latest developments in the Western Sahara file. The head of state expressed his satisfaction with the convergence of points of views with his Iranian counterpart and ensured to follow efforts to maintain peace and international security and stability. For his part, the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, praised the positions of President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his actions at the level of the United Nations Security Council and the International Court of Justice in favor of the Palestinian people. The Iranian president highlighted the convergence of views between the two countries regarding support for oppressed peoples, particularly the Palestinian people, deploring the relationship that certain Muslim countries maintain with the Zionist entity, which commits deliberately war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Ibrahim Raisi also described Algerian-Iranian relations as rooted, stressing the importance of expanding economic relations by involving young people in both countries. President Raisi praised Algeria's efforts to establish peace and security in the region.
During this event, meetings between Algerian and Iranian ministers were held, with both delegations expressing their commitment to strengthening bilateral partnership. More details are provided by Yasin Hamdi.
As part of the visit of the President of the Iranian Islamic Republic to Algeria at the head of an important delegation, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, met his Iranian counterpart, Hossein Amir Abdullahian. The Chief of Staff of the Presidency of the Republic, Boualem Boualem, talked to the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Political Affairs of the Iranian Presidency, Mohammad Jamshidi. The Minister of Knowledge Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises, Yassin Al-Mahdi Walid, spoke with the Vice President of the Iranian Republic in charge of Science, Technology and Knowledge Economy, Ruhollah Dahkani Fayrouz Abadi. For his part, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohammed Al-Qab, met the Iranian Minister of Energy, Ali Akbar Mehrabian, and the Minister of Oil, Javad Oji. The Minister of Industry and Pharmaceutical Production, Ali Aoun, and the Trade Minister, Tayyib Zitouni, met the Iranian Vice Minister of Industry, Mines and Trade, Mahdi Virmi.
And we head now to the Martyrs Sanctuary here in the capital Algiers, where the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi observed a minute of silence in the memory of the martyrs of the glorious revolution and laid a wreath of flowers in front of the commemorative stele. The Iranian president, accompanied by the Minister of National Education, Abdul Hakim Al-Abid, read the Fatiha, or the opening chapter of the Holy Quran, on the memory of our valiant martyrs. Earlier today, the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, left Algeria. He was seen off at the Houari Boumediene International Airport by Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi. The Algerian-Iranian partnership, a solid relation, fruitful and as always promising. The two countries aim to consolidate this historical partnership by doubling the cooperation opportunities in the various fields of endeavor. Najah Tayyar with more.
Coinciding with a major energy event, the 7th Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Forum of Gas Exporting Countries, the visit of the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran to Algeria is another opportunity to consolidate the long-standing relations between Algiers and Tehran. This visit aims at broadening and strengthening the partnership, and the participation of the President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Iranian counterpart in a number of international meetings will strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries. It is also important to remember the place and weight of Algeria and Iran in Africa and in the Middle East. Both are major and undeniable geopolitical players and are also considered key players in the field of energy production. The recent visits have led to the signing of a number of important agreements in various fields, such as the political visa abolition between the two countries. On the economic front, the visit of the Iranian head of state will open new horizons. The cooperation will also cover, among others, the energy, agricultural and industrial sectors. In light of the High Joint Commission meetings, the convergence of views between Algiers and Tehran on current international issues, and in particular the Palestinian question, is another factor in favor of strengthening and developing relations between the two countries, enabling them to better face today's multidimensional challenges.
In another activity, President Tebboune held a tripartite meeting with President Qais Said of Tunisia and Mohamed Yunus al-Menfi, chairman of the Libyan Presidential Council. The three leaders reviewed the outcomes of the 7th summit of the GECF held in Algeria. They also discussed the situation in the Maghreb region. The meeting wound up with an agreement to intensify and unify efforts to address economic and security challenges in a way that benefits the people of all three countries. It was also decided to hold a Maghreb tripartite meeting every 3 months, with the first one scheduled to take place in Tunisia after Ramadan. Following this meeting, the President of the Republic held a meeting with his brother Qais Said, during which bilateral relations were reviewed along with ways to strengthen them. And under the presidency of the head of state Abdelmajid Tebboune, the 7th summit of the GECF wound up yesterday in Algiers with the adoption of a final declaration. The text highlighting the determination of the foreign members to work to achieve balanced and reliable natural gas markets. It is mainly a question of responsible exploitation and consumption of this highly demanded resource. Rania al-Bahri explains.
الآن ما فيش ملاحظات بالنسبة شيء اللي جابيه الوزير في الإعلان. تفضلوا. إذا ما فيش ملاحظات نعتبر جميعا أن إعلان قد صدق على إعلان الجزائر في القمة السابعة لمنتدى الدول المنتجة للغاز. شكرا لكم.
The proceedings of the 7th Summit of the Heads of State and Government of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum was crowned by the adoption of the Algiers Declaration, which highlights, among other things, the importance of medium-sized natural gas contracts, a long-term fair and stable natural gas prices, and viable investment in natural gas to strengthen energy security and support the development of resilient energy systems. The Algiers Declaration also underlines the imperative need to secure demand and supplies and the need for an open and transparent international cooperation to protect sensitive natural gas infrastructure. Foreign participants underline their determination to promote natural gas as an abundant, affordable, flexible, and reliable energy source, exploit and develop more environmentally friendly, efficient, and sustainable natural gas technologies. They also advocated for wider use of natural gas in national and international markets.
In another context, and on the invitation from General Salim bin Hamad Al-Aqil Al-Nabit, Chief of Staff of the Qatari Armed Forces, the Army General Said Chingarihal, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, began an official visit to the state of Qatar starting this Sunday to participate in the 8th edition of the Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conferences DMAX 2024. Upon his arrival, Army General Said Chingarihal was welcomed at the VIP lounge of Doha International Airport by Major General Rashid Ali Majid Al-Qatoshi, commander of the Qatari Air Defense Forces. This visit is part of the efforts to strengthen cooperation between the People's National Army and the Qatari Armed Forces. To the ministerial activity now, the Energy Minister Mohammed Arqab received today the Energy Minister of Oman, Salem Al-Oufi. This latter congratulated Algeria for the successful holding of the 7th summit of the GECF. The two parties tackled the strengthening of bilateral cooperation in the sector of hydrocarbons. Mohammed Arqab equally received the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Stewart Young hailed the good and successful organization of the GECF. The two parties then examined the ways and means to develop bilateral cooperation. In a different story, the periodic evaluation meetings of the Arab States Broadcasting Union kicked off this Sunday in Algiers. The event was attended by the Minister of Communication and chaired by the General Director of the Union, Suleiman Abdulrahim. The meeting was also attended by several information coordinators, radio and television sound engineers, and communication network technicians. It comes after a year rich in information, notably regarding the aggression against Gaza. In this regard, the Union appointed 3 reporters to cover the events in the enclave. The Minister of Communication, for his part, called for efforts to counter disinformation. And in preparation for the blessed month of Ramadan, the National Independent Authority for Audiovisual Regulation reminds all stakeholders in the sector of the necessity to comply with the legal and ethical rules without resorting to a frantic pursuit of easy gain or scoops. The authority also emphasized the need to strictly adhere to national religious references through the broadcast of national religious programs. It also urges all audiovisual channels to work on presenting programs for all categories of audience, highlighting the Algerian identity in all its dimensions, particularly its cultural richness. 149 days since the beginning of the Zionist aggression of Gaza, where the situation is still unbearable. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees in Rafah are targeted by the Zionist bombings. Tens of civilians are killed every day, and those who survive lack of everything, including food. Story by Yasin Hamdi.
In less than 24 hours, 14 Palestinians, including 6 children, were killed during an airstrike in the east of Rafah, in the south of the Gaza Strip. After 149 days of genocidal acts in the Palestinian enclave, tens of Palestinians are still missing following the bombings of the Zionist military aviation that targeted houses in the east of Rafah. This morning, 9 Palestinians fell as martyrs and others were injured when the Zionist forces bombed a crowd trying to get humanitarian aid in a truck in Deir el-Balah in Gaza. The Zionist war machinery carried out air bombings and artillery shots in the north of Khan Yunis, while the advance of the occupation army towards the Hamad towers is still ongoing by bombing Palestinians, especially in the west of Hamad. In the north of the Palestinian enclave, tens of Palestinians were killed and injured during an airstrike against a house in the center of Al-Jabaliyah camp in the west of Nusayrat camp. The humanitarian situation is getting worse day after day. 1.5 million of Palestinians are piling up in Rafah. Most of them are forcibly displaced civilians who had no other choice to leave their homes because of the savage Zionist army that keeps destroying the Palestinian enclave. More than 30,000 civilians were murdered and hundreds of others are still stuck under the rubble. The occupation army keeps the rescue teams from reaching them. The Palestinian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, Riyad al-Maliki, called today for a ceasefire that can assure international protection to the Palestinian civilians and safely provide a humanitarian aid before the sacred month of Ramadan.
And with that, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.